Hi, dear teacher. Today we are going to present the element number 1, strategies to improve your English. The members of the group are Nayeli Checa, Marco Freire, Maria Pilaguano, and Karina Tugo. The first strategy is use keywords. Use keywords or key phrases to help you understand the general ideas. For example, when you listen to an audio and you understand words like New York, business trip, last year, you can assume that the person is speaking about a business trip to New York last year. This may seem obvious to you, but remember that understanding the main idea will help you to understand the detail as a person continues to speak. Another strategy is listen for context. Let's imagine that your friend or your teacher says, I bought this great tuner at Gears. It was really cheap and now I can finally listen to National Public Radio broadcast. You don't understand what a tuner is and you focus on the word tuner, you may become frustrated. But if you take in context, you probably will begin to understand. For example, a bow is the passerby, listen is the problem, and radio is obvious. Now you understand he bought something, the tuner, to listen to the radio. A tuner must be a kind of radio. This is a simple example, but it demonstrates what you need to focus on. Not the word that you don't understand, but the words you do understand.
Listening for kids. Kids define out the most important pieces of information about something or general information without details. The learner is trying to pick up keywords, intonation, and other clauses so as to make a guess at the meaning. For example, words such as cup, towel, waves, board, and sunny have their own meanings, but when you hear the words in a listening passage, they help you understand that the context in which they are used in the context of a beach trip. Another strategy is listening for details. What is listening for details? Listening for details refers to the type of listening we do in which we can afford to ignore anything because we don't know exactly what information of the listening passage will be necessary to complete the task. For example, in a listening test, if you are asked to write down a person's age, listen to the words related to age, old, maybe young, years, date of birth, etc., or number that could represent the age of that person. If it's conversation, you can wait for someone to start questions with how old.
So then the next strategy is notice collocation. Next slide, please. Notice collocation refers to draw attention to the context of the newly acquired vocabulary and ask the students if they notice any familiar or unfamiliar words that might tend to collocate with them. So here students have to identify specific words of expression that teacher requires to notice in the different listening activities. This is also preparation for the second time they listen or watch because, you know, at the first time for the students, it kind of hard to identify all the information presented in a listening activity. So the second time it is easy to identify expression of words in order to answer question. Next slide, please. So, for example, let's say that you're watching Finding Nemo. Here in the listening activity, students have to notice that everyone says the ocean, not just an ocean. Then 3 times someone mentions the entire ocean as an expression. And the third, right at the beginning, Martin had promised Coral an ocean view. So the question is, what does this normally refer to that expression? Next slide, please. Then we have listen and watch for specific events. So listen and watch for specific events refers to ask the students to watch out for specific happenings. Students here need to be listening specifically for the words and expression that teacher just told them. in a specific context, in where students could also be looking for specific visual items. On the board, a worship of the poor, they think they are looking for into chronological order. I disappear. For example, students have to identify who wears a hat. This could be a man, a lady, or his or her name. Also identify who gives something to someone else, boy, girl, and his or her name. And the last question, how many people that said hello in an audio activity?
Another strategy is bottom-up. It happens when we use background knowledge to make sense of what we are listening to. We already know a fair amount about the topic, and the story or information we are getting fits into a previously established schema. For example, students listen to positive and negative statements and choose an appropriate form of agreement. For example, students hear a phrase, "That's a nice camera," and the students choose the correct answer. In this case, the answer is yes, or this coffee isn't hot, and the answer is no. Next, please. Another is top-down. It means making as much use as you can of your knowledge and the situation. From your knowledge of situations, context, text, conversations, phrases, and sentences, you can understand what you hear. It happens when we understand language sound by sound or word by word with less use of background knowledge. And next, please. For example, when you turn on the radio and it said on the news that there was an earthquake in China last night. So immediately you start asking yourself questions such as, how much damage did the earthquake do? What was the magnitude of the earthquake? Or did people die? Next, please. And here we have the bibliography, and that's all. Thank you so much.